Blog Talk Radio.
Batten down the hatches. It's Wednesday. It's Bill North time. It's the True North podcast, hosted by him, a brother, a friend, and a mentor. He's in Seattle. Yours truly, Mark Mancini, producing, playing co-host in L.A., where it's 107. And I'm sure our guest coming back, Mark McLemore, it's probably 115 where he's at, but that's a story we'll get into. 347-205-9631. If you happen to miss it, 30 minutes goes by quick. We understand. Catch the archive version, blogtalkradio.com/Mancini Sports, podcast platforms, wherever you subscribe to podcasts, powered now by Mancini Media. So as I lay that podium, put the mic in its place and hand it over to you, Bill, the threes. How are you? How can people get a hold of you? And part two with a great guy, and I can't wait for this one.
I'm doing pretty good, Mark. I'm not mad at anybody. You can reach me at Bill Norte, BILLNORTE15 Look forward to that. And I got my guy here talking about McLemore. I heard that the rapper, took his stage name from you. He was a baseball fan. Is there any truth to that, Matt?
There is truth to that, yes. I saw a story and I saw an interview with him, and that's what he said. And, you know, it's kind of flattering. I mean, he changed the
stuff. Man, you hit the big time there.
Right, you know? So, yeah, it was kind of flattering to hear that.
Yeah, I thought it was kind of cute. I didn't know if it was true, but now I do. That's good.
Yeah.
That's good. What you been up to?
Trying to stay out of this heat.
What is it down there?
Man, right now it's, 7 o'clock. It's about 104, so it's starting to cool down a little bit.
Well, I got 72.
Oh.
And that's fine.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Hey, look, I wanted to ask a quick question, Mark, about now you're part of that Ranger announcing team, and I got to cover a guy in San Diego for 3 years, 96, 97, and 98, and boy, I'll tell you, when I look at this guy, it reminds me of Pat Riley or Greg Popovich in basketball, maybe even Bill Belichick. But Bruce Bochy, wherever that guy goes, that guy just simply wins. How great is it to have him in Texas?
I love it. I love veteran managers. Not that young managers can't get the job done, but, with a veteran manager, there are just some things that go with it. One, you've got to have presence, and Bochy has that. So when he walks into that locker room, everybody knows it. They don't have to see him. They just know that the manager's in the house.
Yeah.
And for somebody that's been through it, he's got 3 World Series championships. Somebody that's been through it, he understands what a player goes through because he lived it. He's seen winners, he's seen losers, he's seen pretty much everything there is to see in this game. So having somebody running the ship like that, that goes a long way for me.
Well, back in my day, I played against him. That's how old I am. But what a great manager. He's been able to do things with teams and turn them around immediately. And seems to be a nice guy, but I just look at him in awe of his managing ability. And you know him better than I do, Mark, but he's done a hell of a job wherever he's gone.
Well, not only that. Yeah. Sorry, Mark.
He has, and I think that's because he has the respect of the players, and obviously his peers, the other managers around the game. But just the players that he's had, having that player mentality, and understanding what that player goes through every single day in a 162-game season, year in and year out, hopefully, if you're lucky enough. Him understanding that, I think that puts players, at ease. He communicates well. He lets the guys know, hey, this is what I expect. Here's what we're doing. We're going to back you up a couple of days, give you an extra day's rest. Hey, you've got tomorrow off. Just sleep in or do whatever. just that kind of communication, I think, goes a long way in helping guys understand what their job is day to day.
I wish your manager would have said to me, "You got tomorrow off, sleep in." You know what? If you were able to play, you ran your butt out there. You could bet on that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, not only that, Mark, so I imagine you'll be traveling into San Diego on Friday. They're doing the San Diego Hall of Fame. They're inducting Jake Peavy and John Moores. And a quick story with John Moores, I will tell you, when I was at McLemore doing the college over there to get the start in radio in '96, that year, he had just bought the team, and he came to the college, drove all the way from San Diego into Carlsbad, pretty much, well, San Marcos, and sat there and did the show with him. So I am indebted to John Moores as well. And man, oh man, what a great owner he was. And then bringing all those guys into San Diego, Caminiti and Finley and Craig Vaughn, and unbelievable time in San Diego those days.
Right. Wow. Yeah, I remember those days. Just starting to play, just starting to do interleague play. I didn't get to play in San Diego until 2000 or 2001 for the first time, since I spent the majority of my career in the American League. But he did a tremendous job bringing some talent in and some excitement back to the city.
Hey, real quick, I'll throw one more question, and I'll give it over to Bill. The City Connect unis, I know they're sweet in Seattle. They look good in Texas. I don't know if you've seen the ones in Pittsburgh, but wearing the black and gold, every time I see these guys wear them on Friday nights in Pittsburgh, I'm thinking, is Dave Parker, Willie Stargell, John Milner here? Who's here? But any favorites? I know you could be biased, and you could stick with Texas, and you could stick with Seattle, but is there any around the league that really go, wow, that looks nice?
The White Sox.
Yeah.
I like theirs. Pittsburgh was pretty good, but I like the White Sox City Connect jerseys. Texas, I'm still trying to get used to. Seattle's is pretty good as well. I haven't seen a lot of them, but so far I think the White Sox is my favorite.
Mm-hmm.
Bill, what's your take on that?
I don't, man, those uniforms these days is, that's like afros. That was what was going on back in my day.
Oscar Campbell.
And all of this stuff that they do now, I don't ever get into a thing about commenting too much on what's happening with that stuff, because of the fact that times change, and I realized that I looked pretty peculiar when I was in the uniform too, with Jerry curls and all that kind of stuff. Never had Jerry curls. I know you did, Mark. But things pass on. I wish Mark would send me some TJs, catfish and wings.
I will put that on my list.
Put that on your list. Anyway, I wanted to talk to you also, not only about the 2001 season, but I heard you say that you were a locker mate with Reggie Jackson.
Yes.
Where was it? Was that spring training?
That was spring training, my very first big league camp. I was 19 years old, and I walk in the locker room, and I'm looking for my locker, and I see Reggie's, and then I see my name. I'm like, okay, this is surely a mistake. I'm like, oh, my God, I can't believe this. What do I do now?
How did that go?
It went well. He introduced himself, and, we were off to the races. I just sat quiet, and, I kind of waited for him to do whatever he needed to do, and I'd go do mine afterwards. I knew enough to do that, and just, let him have whatever he needed.
He did his work. He did his work. Yeah. And was strong. Watching him take batting practice was something to behold.
I'll tell you what, I got a chance to watch him and Rod Carew hit one round. And Rod got in there and said, hey, watch this. And he matched Reggie home run for home run and distance for distance.
Wow, that's right.
I'm like, you got to be kidding me.
And then he went back to his batting practice of working on that 5-6 hole, didn't he?
Yeah. I said, why don't you hit more home runs? He said, because I like hitting 330.
That's right.
I was like,
that kid,
wow.
Arias, takes batting practice. It reminded me of Rod Carew, the way he takes batting practice.
Man, I wish.
Yeah, I'm telling you, he hits that hole, though. But shoot, Rod Carew. Rod
one of the best.
Smooth. I want to ask you about another teammate of yours. His name, and I love it. To this day, I love it. Easy, George Hendricks.
That's my idol. That's what I call him, my idol.
I'll tell you this much. He played the game so easy. And he looked like he was loafing, but he was working. He did his work. And he got to that stuff real smooth, and everybody wanted to see him working real hard to get there. But you played the game of baseball as comfortable as any player I ever saw.
I thought you had to do more, or had to at least look like you tried harder in order to be successful at this game. I worked really hard. And like you said, George just made it look easy. I remember it was my first call up to the big leagues. We're in Toronto, in Exhibition Stadium, the old stadium.
Yeah.
Probably 30 degrees. And I want to say, who was it? I can't remember who was closing. It might have been Tom Hinkie, but whoever their closer was in. We're down a run. We get a runner on. George is sitting at the end of the dugout. I'm next to him. He's got his bat and helmet right there, his little, catching helmet. He had the no flaps. He was grandfathered in for that. Yeah. And Gene Mott just whistled down to the end of the dugout. Hey, George, go get him. George looked at me and like, are you kidding me right now? He picked up his helmet, put it on his head, got his bat. He walked straight from the corner of the dugout to the batter's box. In the batter's box, strike one, curveball. George took it. Another curveball, strike two. Here comes a fastball, 0-2 fastball.
Right. There you go.
Oh, it's going, and it goes foul.
Oh, no.
He comes back, and we were on the first base dugout, so he's looking over in the dugout. He kind of just shrugged his shoulders, and Hinkie threw him another one. He hit that one out, 2-run homer. We win by 1, and he comes back, and all he said was, all he had to do was throw me another curveball. He had me. That was it. And from that point on, well, actually a couple years before that, I learned my hitting philosophy that I used throughout my entire career. I taught it to my boys, everything. And this is what George told me. Don't miss the fastball.
Wow. I remember, when he got traded, along with John Candelaria to the Angels, I think Johnny Ray and Jason Thompson went the other way to Pittsburgh. But I've always liked him in Pittsburgh, and I just think he was misunderstood. When you look, I've always liked Barry Bonds, and people say, well, the press and all this. But Barry Bonds, to me, was the best pure hitter I've ever seen because he just was something. I mean, he just generated that. He was like a lone wolf. He put on a batting show. Do you think some of these guys get unfair press because the press kind of, if they don't get the story they want, they just kind of berate these guys? Because I've sat down with a Deion Sanders, I've sat down with a Barry Bonds, and I've had no problem talking to these kind of guys. But it's just the way you present yourself, I would imagine, Mark. Did we lose him? Well, I think we lost him for a minute. As we hear, with 15 minutes left in this great show, and we're waiting for Billy North and Mark McLemore to get back in here. So yours truly, Mark Mancini, holding the fort down. as we get these guys back in. And, man, oh, man, part 2 of this great interview here. Mark McLemore doing, broadcasting now with the Texas Rangers there. So it's really nice to see and hear. And unbelievable across the board here with the great shows in the Mancini media. We're so blessed to have Bill Nord bring in Mark McLemore, part 2 of this interview. So with a little technical difficulty, I'm trying to hold the fort down till they get back in here. Hey, it's hot in Texas. It's hot in Seattle, I would imagine. They have hot weather in Seattle, but not as hot as it is in Texas and Southern California, where it's 107 here today. So we'll wait to see if we get them back in here as we start to wind this great show down. And you're hearing it, Mark McLemore talking about some of the guys he's played with, looking at the 70s as a decade where, it was an amazing decade, more or less idolized Billy North. And, now Billy North coming back and showing him the great love, too, as well. So we'll wait and hear, Mark as he tries to get in here, as we wind this thing down and, waiting on him. So he'll dial back in. Wait, technical difficulty. Sometimes, I don't know, maybe the lines heat up or something. You never know. So we'll wait here and, see how they prosper here as far as getting in with about 13 minutes left in this great show. And I could tell you, man, out here in California, the Dodgers should have got swept. They pulled one out yesterday, but man, oh man, Toronto is just amazing. And they win 2 out of 3. They beat the Dodgers. As the Dodgers, people are gearing up for the trade deadline a week from yesterday. So we'll find out if Shohei Ohtani will be moved. We'll find out if Max Scherzer will be moved. We're gonna get some questions answered to this across the board here. So we'll definitely find out as we wait for these guys to get back in here. We'll give it another minute. If not, we'll bring them back next week. That happens. Sometimes, there's peaks and valleys in anything you do, and things don't go according to plan, but that's okay. As we wait for them to get back, if they don't, we'll have this remaining part 2 next week.